morning, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Carol's Daily Sauce, and we are still reading Unraveling the Layers, Memoirs of a Wounded Soul. The story that we're reading today is called How I Overcame Abuse. Nobody but God. I want you guys to know, most of these people, most of these writers are faith-based writers, okay? This is a story written by Whit Devereaux. Now, it's a long story, just like Leah Freeman's was. I was just sitting up here and I was talking to my husband and I was saying, gosh, all of these stories are long. But you know what I said right after I said that? Well, if you've been wounded, they would be long. It takes time to heal. It takes time to get better. So we're going to go ahead and start reading the story. And we probably are going to go a couple of days because this story is, it's a good amount of pages, okay? My struggle with abuse was a generational curse. There were generations that came before me that were either abusive or abused, whether it was physical, emotional, mental, or the misuse of drugs. It was abusive in nature. Like many people, I was born into bondage of this generational curse, and at a young age, I was exposed to sexual violence by a family member. I was violated. Incest. It's hard to process that, and although my mom would routinely ask if anyone had ever touched me, the devil shut my mouth and used shame to hold me hostage. It is difficult to comprehend why something that is so grotesque could feel physically pleasing to the body. I struggled with the spirit of perversion for many years after this. I watched porn and masturbated, chasing the feeling of sexual gratification. I equated love with physical touch. In the same way, I found it difficult to accept physical advances without cringing. I would cringe anytime someone would reach out to touch me. A hug, a kiss, any type of intimacy from another was really hard to receive. I literally carried the secret with me for many years, and it would not be until I dealt with the root cause of my abuse later as an adult that I would finally become free. As a child, I was very close to my grandmother. I would spend weekends with her, and on Sundays, we would attend church together along with my uncles. She helped to set my spiritual foundation in Christ. At the same time, the behavior that I would see the night before church would leave me perplexed on what it really meant to be like Christ. I remember Saturday evenings where she would become intoxicated, then curse out my uncles or just yell to the top of her lungs. It was a scary thing for me being so young. I did not understand what she was doing or even why she was doing it. When I would ask my uncles what was wrong, I was told, "Oh, she's just raising hell." I grew up with that dysfunctional mindset that on Saturday, it was customary to raise hell, and on Sunday, we would praise God. Now, if that ain't a hot mess, that is terrible. The truth of the matter is that there was abuse, substance abuse that ran deep within my bloodline. It was not normal to raise hell, then go to church, but you could not tell that to a 5-year-old girl who witnessed this on a weekly basis. My fragile mind could not even begin to comprehend what any of that meant, at least not at that time. Some years later, I went to spend the night at my grandmother's house. That Saturday night was pretty normal initially. We had a good day. We got ready for bed, as we usually would. I lay in my grandmother's bed and I'd watch her play solitaire until I fell asleep. Moments following, I would wake up hearing a single gunshot in what sounded like the room next to us. I froze in fear. I could not move. I was afraid of what would happen if I did. It was dead silence following the gunshot, and it was like everything stood still. My grandmother came back into the room looking dazed. That's when I realized that she had shot through my uncle's door. I finally got up and ran to the phone. I did not want to alarm her though. After all, she had just shot my uncle. I knew one thing for sure. I needed to get home. I called my mom as calmly as I could. I explained what had just taken place. Meanwhile, my grandmother lay beside me, crying and begging me to stay. There was no way that was happening. I do not believe that I was more than 9 years old when all this occurred. That night, I promised myself I would never return to our house to spend a night again, and I didn't. I found out many years later that the reason she did that was because she didn't want my uncle abusing drugs in her house. I want to take a moment to pause right there. I loved my grandmother. No judgment at all. She was also born into a generational curse and was just doing what so many of us unknowingly do, passing it on from one generation to another. I was determined, though, not to let the generational curse of substance abuse to manifest in me. The devil had other plans, though. As a preteen and certainly as a teenager, I suffered from low self-esteem. I was told that I was ugly by one of my crushes, and it crushed me. I took it to heart. No matter who complimented me or attempted to affirm me, I believed that I was not attractive. I was skinny, I wore big framed glasses, and I had a crooked tooth smile. I practiced smiling a certain way to hide the parts of my smile that I didn't like. My friends were being asked out, they were dating, but there I was, not getting any type of attention. I told you early on that I equated love with physical touch, and that was not happening at all. Due to being sexually violated and also a believer, it was a constant battle between the flesh and the spirit to be celibate. I did not really consider myself to be pure, but at the same time, I wanted to try to honor God with my body. It was difficult, especially when I had issues of self-worth. I attended a Christian elementary school, and since I was no longer going to church on Sundays with my grandmother, this was my only form of church. I would pray often for the Lord to save me, giving my life to Christ at almost every chapel service. No one knew of my internal struggles because I suppressed them. They showed up in other ways, though. I had extreme anxiety and battled depression, even in my youth. I believed that I would die at an early age and often cried myself to sleep, fearfully that I would not live to see the next day. When I would share these thoughts with my family, they would laugh at me. I would be called a hypochondriac and dismissed. I don't hold their ignorance against them. They simply did not know any better. I needed mental health treatment. I was likely suffering from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, as a result of the things that I experienced early in life. I remember writing short stories in the 5th grade and sharing one in particular of me falling off of a cliff. It was a cry for help, but no one helped me. I got stares instead, and I heard whispers amongst the class, and the teacher just went on with the next lesson. When guys finally started showing me some attention in my high school years, I craved it. One thing I have to mention, though, is that I never dated anyone at my school. I did not want anyone knowing my business. I had learned to keep secrets early on, and this was nothing different. I did, however, meet guys outside of school, mainly in the summertime, and by the school year, I would be done with them. I didn't sleep with them, though, so most times it ended because of that. The spirit was winning that war over my flesh. That is, at least until I met my daughter's father. It was something about him that was different. He was rough around the edges. He seemed like he needed love. I believed his stories of being misunderstood, and genuinely wanted to help him. I wanted to fix him. Only God has the power to fix someone, and they must be willing. I would learn that much later, the hard way, after many attempts of me trying to be the fixer. He and I met when I was 17 years old. He would spend much of his time away in juvenile detention and even at the local county jail. I was prepared to leave for college to study journalism, but it was hard for me to choose a school since the love of my life was locked up. I felt guilty about leaving him when I thought that he needed me to help him, to fix him. So I chose a local college where I could pursue my dreams of being a writer, and I would still be close to him. I wanted to help him because I often felt helpless myself, especially as a child. I technically still was a child trying to grow up too fast. My struggles with my identity, lack of self-worth, low self-esteem made me susceptible to abuse. When he hurt me and then apologized, I believed him. I gave myself to him physically, mentally, and emotionally, and those were the very ways that he attempted to destroy me. Things got much worse when he had another baby on me. I knew that I needed to get away from all of this chaos. If any fixing was going to be done, it needed to be done in me. So I left. We're going to stop this right here. We will come back on tomorrow and we will continue reading the story about how I overcame abuse, Nobody But God, written by Whit, Devereaux. Y'all, these stories are something else. I'll talk to you all real soon. Please, please, please share it out because sharing is caring. I am a growing channel. I am 60 subscribers away from 500. And welcome to all of you new subscribers. Definitely welcome to all of my old ones. welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you to all of those that comment on my videos. I have to give a very special shout out and thank you to my YouTuber subscriber sister girl. Her name is Debbie Mallet, and I know she's going to listen to it because she listens to all of my videos. She's so encouraging. She's so much of a help, and I really physically want to meet her one day because she is a dear. Thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you immensely, and just pray that God would continue to bless you in everything you do. Well, you guys, please like, comment, and subscribe. Share the video out. Let people know that this Carol over here does reactions, real life, and reviews. And I also read really good stories. We are reading Unraveling the Layers, Memoirs of a Wounded Soul. And we just read the story written by, oh gosh, I don't want to mess up her name, Whit Devereaux, How I Overcame Abuse, Nobody But God. We'll be back on tomorrow to share the rest of the story. God bless you guys. Be strengthened and be encouraged. I will talk to you all real soon. Bye-bye.